Mr. Barker, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. State calls Lily Petre.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? This you do under the penalty of perjury.
And just scoot all the way up, just like this. There you go. You may proceed when ready, Mr. Barker.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you state your name, please?
My name is Lily Petre,
Can you spell your last name?
Petre,
Thank you, Lily. Where do you live?
in Frankfort, Ohio.
All right. And what do you do out there?
I work at a bulk food store.
I'm sorry, a what food store?
Bulk food store.
Okay. Do me a favor and put that microphone a little closer to your mouth there and pretend it's not even there so we can hear you. And how long have you lived out there?
Over a year.
Okay. And before that, where did you live?
I was in Farmington.
And is there a community there that has a specific name that you lived at?
You mean in Farmington or
It's in Farmington, sorry.
the community is Farmington. The church's name is Farmington.
Okay. Is there in that community, is it often referred to as the Lamp and Light?
The publishing house is
Okay.
Lamp and Light.
And we'll show some photos here in a minute, and I'll have you describe some of that. What were you doing out in that community?
I was working for Bible correspondence in the Spanish department where we would send out booklets for whoever wanted to study.
All right. And you're a Mennonite, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And you have a certain way of dressing. Can you describe just briefly what the belief is around the way you dress and your head covering?
We believe that the Bible teaches modesty, and so we dress this way to be modest. And our head covering is like the subjection.
Okay. And and that's something referred to in the Bible as covering your hair, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Now, I noticed just a moment ago when you said you were going to tell the truth that you didn't swear, right? Is that
That's
also
right.
part of your belief system?
That's part of our belief system.
Okay. And this community that you were living at out in Farmington, was it predominantly a Mennonite community?
That's right.
Okay. How many folks out there do you think there were in that Mennonite community?
I don't know.
All right. More than 100?
Probably, but I'm not exactly sure on the number.
It's all right. Yeah. I'm just asking for a kind of a best guess.
Yeah.
Is there, what's the structure of the community? Is there a bishop or a minister?
They have a bishop and several ministers too.
Okay. And is there a church building as well at that community?
That's right.
All right. So you were working at the publishing house, right?
That's right.
And that's the Lamp and Light Publishing.
That's right.
What other activities or work is there for the Mennonite folks out there?
Well, there is a Gingrich Home Assisted Living that is right in the same area as the Lamp and Light building, and I don't know of all the other jobs that they would tend to do.
Okay. And so there's an assisted living house that Mennonite folks work on there?
That's right.
Okay. How many people are working at the Lamp and Light Publishing? Best guess is okay.
Between 10 and 20, I'd say.
Okay. Now, when we talk about this community, I just want to be clear. This isn't like a walled-off or fenced community. Is that right?
Not at all.
Okay. So anybody could drive their car through it at any point.
That's right.
Are the roads paved in that community?
Not in the community, no.
All right. Is it next to or adjacent to kind of a busy highway?
It is.
All right. Now, at the publishing house, did you work with someone named Sasha Krause?
That's right.
All right. Tell us when you first met her.
I met her in July of 2019 when I went to Farmington to do a term of service.
All right. Now, a term of service, we're just going to have to define certain things. Is that kind of like a mission?
That's right.
All right. And was there a set amount of time that you were supposed to be there?
I promised a year.
All right. Was that the scenario for Sasha as well?
That's the scenario she went on, but if you want to stay, you can stay longer.
Gotcha. And did you also live with Sasha there?
That's right.
Describe that house and the living situation.
Okay, so it's in the basement of where the house parents live, and there are 4 bedrooms, and we each had our own bedroom.
Okay. So this is a house, and then the upstairs are the house parents, is that right?
That's right.
And who were the house parents?
Harley and Esther May Kaufman.
All right. And is this just an older couple that would help you out?
That's right.
Okay. Did they do anything aside from just kind of run the house? Was there anything specific they were in charge of?
She would serve us supper every night, Monday through Friday.
Okay. Describe your relationship with Sasha. What was that like?
When I first met her, we didn't do a lot together, but as we got to know each other, we became very good friends.
All right. And you each had your own room.
That's right.
Okay. And there were 4 of you young ladies there in total.
That's right.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit more specifically about the time around January 18th, 2020, okay?
Okay,
Do you recall that date?
I do.
What was going on that day? Let's just take it chronologically. Do you remember what you were doing that day?
So she went to town and came back, and then
I'm sorry, when you say she, let's just be specific.
Sasha went to town, and then she came back and asked me to go to town with her to pick up a bed she had bought.
All right, and what was the reason for buying a bed?
She was moving into her own house trailer.
Okay. Was that a trailer in that community then?
That's right.
And what was the reason for her moving to that trailer?
To free up space.
All right. And was it far from where you were living with her?
No.
Okay. So let's just give each other a little bit of time in between questions and answers, because we've got to make sure we take it down, okay? All right, so she had that opportunity to move into that house, and so getting a bed was part of that?
That's right.
Gotcha. And so you went on these errands with her?
That's right.
What time of day was it when you went to town?
Around noon, I think.
All right. And how long were you out shopping with her?
We basically went and got the bed and came back. So it was not much more than maybe half hour to an hour.
Okay. And when you got back to the house, what did you do next?
We unloaded the bed, and then I helped her put the bed together.
Okay, in the trailer itself?
That's right.
Now, while you were with Sasha, is it fair to say you were friends and you knew kind of what was going on in her life?
I would say so.
All right. Did she ever express any unhappiness about being there with you?
Not at all.
Okay. No, excuse me. Sorry about that. Any indication that she would have left without telling anybody?
Not at all.
All right. So you got back to the house, and you helped put the bed together. How long did that process take?
I think it took us about 3 hours.
Okay. So what are we talking about? Late afternoon at this point?
Yeah, that's right.
And then what was the plan after that?
So that was about, when I went to help her put the bed together, it was 2 o'clock, and we got done about 5, and then we went and ate dinner together.
All right. And were the house parents there at that point?
No, they were not.
Do you know where they were?
They were in North Dakota. He was doing a Bible school teaching.
All right. So they were out of town.
That's right.
And so who was eating with you? Was it just you two?
It was just us two.
The other ladies, young ladies that lived there, what were their names?
Lucinda Hurst and Ruby Rudolph.
Ruby Rudolph? Okay. And where were they that day? Do you remember?
Ruby was working at the assisted living, and Lucinda had gone shopping.
Okay. So you and Sasha ate dinner together. How long do you think that took?
I don't know.
All right. More than an hour?
Possibly. We were visiting as well, so I'm not sure how long it took.
Okay, so you're eating, but you're also talking for some time.
That's right.
At any point during that day, did Sasha indicate to you that she intended to go to the church later?
That's right.
And what was the reason for that?
To pick up some Sunday school material.
Okay, Sunday being the next day.
That's right.
Was she a Sunday school teacher?
She was substituting for someone.
All right. What was her main job there at the community? Just a publishing house?
That's right.
Did you have a calling or a role in the church aside from working at the publishing house?
No, I did not.
All right, so Sasha told you at some point she needed to go to the church. And how far would you say that church was from where you lived?
Very close. Not exactly sure how far it is, but it's very, like from our house, we could see the church house.
All right, walking distance for sure.
Very, yes.
Okay. So after you have dinner, you're visiting together. What do you remember happening next?
I went and showered and went to my bedroom.
Do you remember about what time you went to take a shower?
I do not remember that.
So if we're saying you're having dinner, what was it, around 5 or so?
Well, we had to fix our dinner yet, so it was later than 5.
Later than 5. Can we say 5:30 to 6?
That's right.
There's some visiting happening, and you're taking a shower after that. Would have been 7 or later when you're taking a shower?
More probably like 7:30.
All right. And do you know when you went to take a shower where Sasha was?
I do not.
When you got out of the shower, did you see Sasha?
I did not.
And what did you do after you took a shower?
I went to my bedroom and was listening to music.
Okay. Was it a common occurrence that you would be in your room and the other girls would be in their rooms and that would be the night?
Usually that's how it was.
Okay. In other words, you may not know if someone's in their room, if the door's closed or something like that?
If someone was in the room, the door was closed. If they weren't, the door was open.
All right. And do you recall anything about how Sasha's room was?
I think the door was open.
Okay. You don't recall her coming back from a church or showing you she got books, is that right?
No, I do not.
Did you ever see Sasha again after you had dinner with her that night?
I did not.
Let's talk about after you went to your room and was listening to music. At some point that night, did you just go to sleep?
That's right.
Did you ever look to see if Sasha had returned or make a phone call to her before you went to sleep?
I sent her a text message.
And what was the text message about?
We were going to go to Klein together, and someone had offered to give us a ride. And so I was just passing the information on to her.
In Klein, what was the purpose of going to Klein?
There was a church where we would go have services to free up the Farmington church because it was full.
And how far away is Klein, do you know?
I do not know.
Okay. But that was the plan for the next day then?
That's right.
All right. And it was your understanding that she was getting those church books for that service?
That's right.
Okay. What's the next thing that you remember happening after you went to sleep that night?
Then I got a text message from Lucinda.
All right. And Lucinda, you mentioned, was one of the young ladies who lived there, right?
That's right.
And what was the text message about?
That she couldn't find Sasha.
You remember what time it was at night?
It was after 1:30.
In the morning?
That's right.
Okay, so if we're talking about the Saturday being the 18th of January, this would have been now into the 19th.
That's right.
What did you do in response?
I got up and said she's in her bedroom, and then I went and looked and she was not. So then we went down to the church house.
All right. Do you recall the weather that time of day or that night?
It was cold.
Okay, so you bundled up, put a coat on or something,
That's right.
and then walked or drove to the church?
We walked.
Now, would it have been unusual for Sasha or anybody to drive from the house to the church?
It wasn't that unusual depending the hour of the day.
All right, so if it's dark, you might take a car instead of walking.
That's right.
So you and Lucinda walked down to the church?
That's right.
Did you try also calling Sasha?
I tried to call her soon after Lucinda had texted me, but she did not respond.
All right. Let me just ask you about cell phones for a minute. I think it's a common understanding that Mennonites maybe don't use technology like other people do. Was cell phones still a common occurrence in that community?
That's right.
Okay. What kind of cell phones were you typically using?
Mine was not a smartphone.
Not a smartphone?
Not a smartphone.
All right. So not like an iPhone or something with a big screen, but something you can make calls on
That's right.
and text as well. All right. Tell us what happened as you walked down to the church.
So we walked down and we saw her car parked there at the church house. And we walked into the church house and turned lights on and called her name, and she didn't respond.
All right. So is there a parking lot next to the church?
That's right.
And you did see Sasha's car there.
That's right.
Did you look in the car at all or try to open it or anything?
I think we did after we came out of the church house.
Okay. Do you remember what car she had?
A Ford Focus.
Were there lights on at all at the church when you got there?
There was not.
So it was completely dark.
That's right.
What about on the kind of the walk toward the church and around the church? What was the lighting situation back then?
I do not recall.
Is it dark at night there? At least back then?
I think so.
Okay. In other words, were there big lights along the pathway and around the church, or just
By the basement side, I think there was a light.
the basement of the church?
That's right.
Okay. We'll have some photos here in a minute. I'll ask you about that. So you walked into the church. How far into the church did you go?
We went through the church house.
So the first floor, and then you talked about a basement, went there too?
That's right.
Mr. Barker, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's
That's all right.
exactly 12 noon. I think it might be a good time to take our lunch break.
Perfect. Thank you, Judge.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to take our lunch break. So if you could please be back in the jury rooms no later than 12:20, just so we got a few minutes to get you settled in and make sure everybody's here so we can call for you promptly at 1:30 to have you come into the courtroom at 1:30. So remember the admonition. Keep an open mind. Do not formulate any opinions about the case. Do not talk to anyone about the case. Do not let anyone talk to you about the case, and that includes each other. All right, enjoy the lunch and recess.